And hello, everyone, and welcome to the Copyright 2.0 show. My name is Jonathan Bailey, and I have the site Plagiarism Today, which can be found at plagiarismtoday.com. And I gotta say, I was caught off how quickly it connected this time. Off guard, but yes, but joining me as usual, the co-host with the most, the man with a plan, the community guru himself, and an expert within his field. I can say that Patrick can't. That is Patrick O'Keefe at the iFroggy Network at iFroggy.com. Patrick, how have you been?
I have been good. I'm just looking for my IRC password for the chat room. It's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I use you use this. It's Freenode based, and I had signed up for an account just the other day for the Dradcast, which is hosted by my friend Brad Williams as well as Armada.
Yeah, Freenode seems to be pretty popular. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm getting on that now, logging in. But yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good.
Expert in his field.
Yes, you are an expert in your field, and thank you for confirming that, saying that I am one in mine.
Yeah.
And that we were just having this conversation right before we came on about how you really can't say I'm an expert, and have people listen to you. You have to have other people say it. So we are both saying it to each other now, just to reaffirm.
Yeah. I guess it's a circle, whatever.
It's a circle of life. It's a circle of expert life.
That's how shysters and scammers people are like, oh, find another person to say I'm an expert. Oh, you're an expert, so are you.
So are you? Well, there you go.
It's like that scene in Glengarry Glen Ross when toward the end the guy that wants to back out of the deal, Pacino's deal, and he has Jack Lemmon there, and he's like, you gotta act like a real person. You gotta act like I'm selling you, like you're a bigwig. So he has him act out. It's like you're getting such a great deal, but they're both salesmen at the end of the day. He's just pretending. So
yeah.
Anywho,
well, we have some business to discuss. Do you want to just jump in and get rid of the details out of the way?
Sure. You want me to?
Yeah, I'll let you take lead, and I'll do follow-up on this.
Okay, so, well, the announcement in today's show is that I am unfortunately leaving the Copyright 2.0 show. We've done it together since episode 84.
I know. I can't
that was
believe
released. That was released November 10th, 2008. So, back then you were saying it's Monday again. Now you try to release on Fridays, I know. It's like it's Monday again. And, so we've been doing it for coming up on 6 years in November. So right now we're looking at about 5 years, 9 months or so. It's been a long time. It's been a great run. And I'm going to miss it. I'm leaving because I'm just taking stock of everything that I'm doing and the time I'm spending on things and what's moving me forward career-wise. And I'm just coming to the realization I'm not going to work in copyright. That's all.
No, big shot there.
And I joined the show because I'd have to go back. I joined the show because I was interesting, and I consider myself to be a copyright smart person in general. And the greatest thing
there's no doubt there.
Thank you. And the greatest thing I've got out of it isn't professional, but it's personal. It's my friendship with Jonathan. I did not. When I joined the show, we were not friends. I mean, I would say we weren't enemies, but we weren't friends.
Wait a minute, you guys, you big stinking jerk!
That was quite a setup.
I'm gonna strangle you so hard.
You don't have. It's not opposites. You don't have to be opposites. We just didn't know each other all that well. We were acquaintances, and he asked me to join the show. And over the last 6 years, we've become very good friends. Jonathan's one of my best friends, so that's the greatest thing I've got from doing this show, and I'll take that with me. And I'll keep that. I don't have to do the podcast to be a great friend with Jonathan, but I'm going to miss it. I'll miss having these scheduled chats every Wednesday. And, I'd just like to say thank you to Jonathan for having me, and thank you to everyone who's listened to the show over the years and been supportive.
Now, you've agreed to stick around till episode 242. 242 will be our actual last, so not...
I've agreed to stick around for a couple months, okay, to be clear.
Yeah, well, to be fair, and this is something to be clear to those playing along at home that aren't privy to behind-the-scenes stuff. Patrick told me he wanted to transition out long before then, about 2 months ago, I think. And he has been very, very, very patient with me. I have been working on lining up things to replace him, possible rebooting of the show and other stuff. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And he's been very patient with me. I mean, this guy is a saint and an angel to anyone who is looking...
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, no, I mean, there's no immediate rush, and we wanted to do it the right way, of course, and that's why we're announcing it today also.
Today, and there's 2 more episodes with Patrick. 341, 342 will both have Patrick. And after that, I can't make any announcements what the future of the podcast holds today. I'm hoping to have it next week for the middle show, if you will, and we'll talk about what the future holds then. The main thing I want everyone to know is that there will be a podcast after Patrick leaves. I don't know what format it will take. I don't know how it will be structured, but there will be something continuing after Patrick departs. So that's the main thing I want to get across to everyone. I have multiple irons in the fire, multiple approaches, and I'll just throw this out. If anyone out there is interested in being a co-host on the podcast, feel free to drop me an email. I will gladly consider anything and everyone. I've got some people in mind already. But I'm always open to new suggestions. I mean, this is, it's one of those things where it's both really, really sad and also an opportunity to do some new things,
Yeah,
so,
and the most important thing is there will be a podcast. Patrick's leaving, whatever. We don't need to talk about that. But it's important to know there will be a show, and also the salary, the benefits, the opportunities to host. They are immense. Let me tell you.
Oh yes. Yes, you have received exactly $0, and that's the thing. I think for both of us, for the past 6 years, it's been personal. It's been friendship. We enjoy doing the show, and it's not that we've stopped not that you've stopped enjoying the show. It's just that your priorities have shifted, and time for the show is not there. And I understand that. I respect that, and I wish you the best of luck. And get used to hearing this over the next couple of weeks, Patrick. But thank you for both the past 6 years and for your patience these past few months. You have been a wonderful friend, a wonderful co-host, and though I am sorry to see you go, I could not have ever possibly asked for anyone better, more committed, or more dedicated to the show than you.
No, thank you. I appreciate that, Jonathan.
So get used to hearing it. It's coming up a lot more over the next couple of weeks.
Okay. And to be fair, this doesn't mean that I'm never going to talk about copyright again.
Oh no, he's never allowed to talk about copyright.
I'm sure we'll talk about it.
Clause in his contract he obviously didn't read.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll talk about it again somewhere, and I can always pop up on the show here or there. So we'll see what happens.
This may not be the last you ever see of Patrick, especially if you
I don't think it will be. Assuming you don't stop at 400.
Assuming I don't stop at 400. Or,
no, you have to make it to 400. I think that I might be back for 400. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, you probably if we make it to 400, like the big hundreds, we've usually had the previous co-hosts back on, you and Chris Matthew and other people that have been on the show.
But also, that is a long time though. If I leave at 342, that's a year. That's more than a year. So maybe I'll pop in before that too.
Yeah, I don't know. He can't stay away like forever and ever. He knows that. It's a weakness. It's
gotta make sure my investments being maintained.
Well, and if you really want to see Patrick, by the way, and I know I already plugged this once today on the site, but if you want to see Patrick at South by Southwest, go to the South by Southwest panel picker and check out his panel. How CNN and the New York Times moderate comments. It's a great panel idea. It's got representatives from both CNN and the New York Times, as you might imagine. These are two very, very opposite publications in terms of their comment policy. And I'm interested in to see how this shakes out. I'm wondering if I should bring boxing gloves or something to this. This could be very exciting, but also very useful for people, including everyone from forum admins to bloggers and how they approach comments.
I think it's a great conversation to have, and well, thank you for your kind words. I think that's a great conversation to have because, it seems like every other day some publication makes a big deal out of closing comments.
Yeah.
And not to say that that's a bad strategy. I was just on the phone with someone talking about community, and they were like, "Well, why should we build community?" And I'm like, "Well, maybe you shouldn't. It's not something everyone should do. It's not something that means you have to do it this way. You don't have to have comments. You don't have to have comments to have community. But comments can offer very deep value, and so certainly the CNN, the New York Times feel that way. And like you said, part of the fun of this is having those different approaches. I'll bring my years of experience to bear as well. But I look forward to sort of moderating the moderators in that discussion and kind of
moderating the moderators. You heard it here first. That should be the tagline for your talk right there. Moderating the moderators.
Yeah, and well. See, the thing is, we had to put CNN and the New York Times in there. That was the thing I said because.
That's like tagline, not the title, the subhead.
Oh, yeah. The tagline. Okay, I was gonna say because we couldn't come up with a fancy title because we don't want to bury the lead because there's so many presentations. As we talked about last episode or the episode before, there's like 2,500 presentations versus like 150 for film or something.
Yeah, which is what I'm at.
Yeah, it's like if they want to talk about copyright, they've got Jonathan or this other guy. So it's like, whatever, you know, it's like, flip a coin. I vote for Jonathan. But, yeah, no, I'm sure Jonathan's talk will be great if it gets accepted. But I'm looking forward to ours. If we can make it there, it'll be a great conversation to have to kind of bring people back to an understanding of comments aren't all bad. It's not all trolls. We can build good, healthy
it's like 90%. Let's, you know. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know if you heard about this. Livefire published this study today, and Livefire. Let's see if I can get the link up. Livefire blog.
I had to boot Livefire off my site after I went HTTPS.
Oh, well, too bad to hear.
It was not compatible. Remember, you were the one that spotted it.
I know, I did spot it. It looked awful. So.
And I checked, and it turned out that somehow I was still seeing it because I was logged in, and as a logged-in user, I was getting HTTPS access, but anyone that wasn't was not. Was what I found out, by the way.
Oh, did you contact them?
No, I did not do that yet. It was I planned to do it, but it was low priority, admittedly.
Okay.
Because I can always just go to default comments and it's done.
Right. I like Livefire. I don't use it on my own blog. I use default, but I like Livefire when I see it.
I do too. I got nothing against them.
So anyway, the study they released briefly, it's kind of I don't know. It's 1,300 consumers. You know, not a massive study, not a tiny one. But a decent number of people. And it was about anonymity online, anonymous identities. And what they found from that 1,300 sample is that they said 40 people have commented anonymously. Now, keep in mind, this is 1,300 consumers. This could include my parents who don't comment online. This could include...
there's no age range or experience online range or anything like that.
So 40% of people have commented online, but more than 88% still use their real identities at least some of the time. But the part that's interesting is that only 5% comment anonymously to bully others. And first thing is, number one, I thought, well, they're not going to. A lot of people won't admit that they bully people online. It doesn't matter if it's an anonymous study or not. But 5% actually is actually kind of high in a way when you think of the average population. Like, this is the average 1,300 people, and we know, I think.
Now, what was the percent again? I couldn't hear you.
5%.
5. Okay, 5%.
So.
Cinco.
And maybe that's high or low, it depends on your perspective, but the thing is, this bullying that occurs online is from a small percentage of people, a very small percentage. I mean, most people...
small, prolific percentage.
Yeah. I mean, most people are not, or they might have multiple accounts or whatever it is, but most people in the world either don't comment at all or don't bully people when they comment. It's just the way it is. Like, most people who cause trouble online, it's a small percentage of people who cause that trouble, and it gets a lot of noise because it's so vile. But that 5% can ruin things for the other 95% of the times. And if you don't manage it.
It's a lot like the bricks and mortar world, if you think about it, because most people just want to go about their lives. They want to do their things, run their businesses, go to their jobs, live their lives, and be relatively left alone. It's the very small percentage that likes to stir the pot or create trouble that is the problem, you know?
Yeah, and Livefire concludes with the bottom line. 1, anonymity leads to more engagement, and they come from that because it said 78% of people who have commented anonymously won't comment if forced to use real identities. And number 2, malicious trolls are only a minority. You don't have to eliminate anonymous identities. A moderation strategy can go a long way. So... Yeah. I can't disagree with that.
No, that's actually very good advice, and I agree with it too. Guest commenting is enabled on plagiarism today. And I'll say the worst problem I have with commenting isn't trolls, it's just good old-fashioned comment spam. It's way, way, way worse and way bigger issue for me. So.
It's sure the biggest problem isn't people on the other side.
Yeah.
Like, Jonathan, you've completely missed the point yet again!
Yes, I know. I usually do.
Like, IP guys in the chat, thanks for joining us.
Hey, IP guy, thanks for joining us. Yeah, so that's interesting. I didn't know that. And by the way, just real quick, throw out mine. My South by Southwest panel is for South by Southwest film, as you noted. I took the road less traveled this year, it seems.
Yeah.
Road significantly less traveled.
They haven't even had to pave that road.
It's a bumpy country road compared to interactive.
It's a dirt road.
Yeah, my panel, however, is entitled How Looming Copyright Changes Could Hit Filmmakers. The idea is I will be teaming up with Sandra Astairs from the Copyright Alliance to discuss the potential, at this point it'll still be the potential copyright changes coming to the United States and the possible impact they could have on filmmakers. looking forward to reaching out some to the filmmaker community if that works out. It's really, really cool, and looking forward to sort of having a different audience for the meeting this go around. It should be interesting.
Yeah, I think it'll be, gosh, I don't know. I guess its general film attendee will be more pro copyright.
Yeah, and I would.
I don't say that as like, you know, I don't know what I mean.
Yeah.
More conservative about copyright as an average. I don't mean that to say that tech people aren't pro copyright existing.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
In a different way.
There's definitely a difference in the views on copyright between South by Southwest Interactive and South by Southwest Film. I don't think there's much of a dispute on that.
Yeah.
And you know, I guess on one hand, I'm going and speaking to a more quote unquote friendly audience, might be what you're thinking. And
yeah,
I don't
maybe.
know, that's not really the goal, because there is a lot.
Yeah, we know what you are, you coward. You're like, I can't speak to that tech audience. I need to just go to the film people.
I spoke to the tech audience twice.
You spoke about porn. Let's see, what was the other one?
Government reform, government copyright reform.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I was at that one.
Oh. Yeah, talk about, you know, that's how you know it was not a significant talk about copyright. Patrick was there, just like the past.
What was I doing there? No, I was representing content providers, and you know.
Yeah, you were representing content providers and to
be clear, Jonathan didn't speak about porn. He spoke about revenge porn, which is different and a serious topic.
Yeah, it is a very serious topic, and but you know, so basically, it's going to be great. I think I'm looking forward to the conversation. And I'm looking forward to reaching out to new audience. Maybe next year I'll do the year after I'll do South by Southwest Music Complete the Trifecta. I think you get some kind of medal if you do that. I have no idea. I really don't.
I've really thought about putting forward a presentation in his other sessions, and you know I might in the future.
You know, South by Southwest Music has different dates though, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Some interactive overlap.
Yeah. You're right. I'll get the dates real quick here. Interactive is the 13th through the 17th, March 2015. So 13 through 17 interactive. Film is 13 through 21. Wow. Music is 17 through 22. Yeah. Now, film though, the way it was, because I stayed for film this time, the way it was, and I assume the way it'll be again, is that most of the stuff happens in the first, I don't know, 5, 6 days, maybe 7 days.
Yeah.
Most of the premieres happen, maybe even less than that. Most premieres, most stuff happens in that, and after that, it's mostly the rerun premieres for the most part. So the last few days of South by, I really didn't do all that much. I did have fun because I went to Asher Roth's show. We were able to go to the Childish Gambino closing concert, so we had fun on the music end of things, but there wasn't much to do on the film side, and interactive was closer.
Yeah. So as far as the main film activities, it overlaps almost perfectly with interactive. Yeah, and that makes sense.
And you know, it's because I didn't go to music much. I didn't have a music badge, so I'm sure there was a whole hotbed of music stuff going on.
That's right. You didn't have I forgot you didn't have a music badge last year. I don't know why I thought you did.
Yeah, well, probably because I went to music stuff.
Music, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Say again.
Is the gold badge for music? I'm trying to remember.
No, gold's film and interactive.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I would be getting only a film and interactive badge.
Yeah, you would be. This year they had events that were for any badge holder. Like the Childish Gambino thing was for any badge holder. Mm-hmm. I had to pay to get in to see Asher Roth. It was like $20 cover charge or whatever.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad. And so there's still a lot of other stuff to do.
Yeah. So still, I'm hoping that we both get our panels picked and that we get to rock out South by 2015, hang out, and do all kinds of awesome South by stuff in Austin. I'm actually starting to learn my way around the city pretty well, so it should be a lot of fun. Patrick, we do have copyright news. Contrary to popular belief, this is still a copyright podcast. So do you want to jump in on some of this and talk some copyright news?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, right off the bat this week, are you an animal, Patrick, other than Homo sapien, I suppose?
I'm not sure how to answer that.
I don't know either, honestly. People ask me that. Let me put it like this. Are you an elephant?
No.
Are you a god? And think carefully to your Ghostbusters before answering that one.
Yes.
Say very good. When someone asks you if you're a god, say yes.
With no sacrilege.
Except for the purpose of copyright. Or are you a ghost? It's probably also a related question. But yeah, if you are any of these things, you probably do not qualify to register your copyright according to the United States Copyright Office. Now, this is coming from is a public draft of what is known as the Compendium of the United States Copyright Office Practices, which basically is like the giant book of how they handle copyright registrations. It's, you know what I mean? It's like the Bible of internal practices for the U.S. Copyright Offices.
You're just running with those religious references, aren't you?
Yeah, I am apparently. I don't know how to. Not on purpose, but yes, I am.
You're like Maria Puente wrote my Bible. I pray at the altar of copyright. After I roll out of bed with the RIAA.
All hail Nimmer.
Yeah, you're gonna miss those jokes.
Yes, I know.
No one else is gonna make that. Whoever you get to the coast is gonna joke about you being in bed with the RIAA.
Exactly. They're not going to make that joke ever, because I will cut them. But basically, what they did is they released the highlight reel, if you will, of the changes, is that basically they've thrown their hat into the monkey selfie ring, if you will. Remember a couple of weeks ago we talked about the monkey who took a selfie with a camera and whether or not that could be copyrighted. Well, according to the U.S. Copyright Office, they believe the answer is no. And in fact, they list a photograph taken by a monkey as an example. I think that might be deliberate. I'm just throwing that out. I think that might be deliberate.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
They also
as is the elephant example.
Yeah,
because I've seen elephant paintings
by
before.
elephants.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, they mentioned that a work created by God or a god cannot be copyrighted. All I have to say is this: no one tell Loki or Thor; they will be pissed. And let me tell you something: Thor's hammer, if it comes down to the Copyright Office, we will not have a Copyright Office. So,
hey, some people might think that's a bad idea.
And then a lot of people wouldn't. But just saying, if he does it, don't do it with people inside. Please, I would appreciate that, because we don't want people to get hurt. But yeah, and among the things, as I said, like I said, a photograph taken by a monkey, a mural painted by an elephant, any claim on the appearance of it based on the appearance of an animal's skin, any claim based upon driftwood, basically any patterns found in nature. Also, anything claiming the Holy Spirit or another god as the author of the work cannot be registered according to this. Also, anything that is purely from an automated standpoint, such as an automated transfer from VHS to DVD, which we actually had that conversation a long time ago. Remember Blue Beat, Patrick?
Yep.
They're the ones that tried to re-copyright music files, saying they had converted them with some kind of weird process.
Yeah.
So Copyright Office is calling BS on that too. Transposing a song from one one key to another. Also compilations like Spotify playlists don't qualify, and it goes on and on and on and on. The things that
so the Copyright Office is paying attention, in other words.
Yeah, and one thing that's interesting is they basically call out memes here. They say a public domain photograph of Winston Churchill combined with the word commitment and the quotation "never, never, never give up" is not copyrightable. So they basically called out memes too. So memes and monkey photographs, monkey selfies, yeah, all been called out by the Copyright Office.
Yeah, there's different things here. You mentioned a lot of them. They says they called attention to they say SNL work communicated solely through or a dramatic sketch or musical composition improvised or developed from memory that has not been filmed, recorded, or transcribed. They said that a couple times, and it's just the idea of you have to fix it to something.
Yeah, and someone might want to tell your brother about that in his improv comedy troupe.
Yeah.
Record everything is the message. Which they pretty much do, but that's not the point.
And we talk about this in relation to the monkey selfie. Check to see what Wikimedia might have done adjustment-wise. They have on there, and this, I don't know, this isn't a point that is specifically made here in this piece, but it says the license details are, this files in the public domain because as the work of a non-human animal, it has no human author in whom copyright is vested. So Prolente doesn't specifically say that it's, is this coming out saying that the owner of the photo is the person who owns the camera? It doesn't really speak to that, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Their argument is still possible.
Yeah, and there's that, it's possible that way, and it's possible another way, and that is this has absolutely no bearing on the courts.
Right.
the courts, this is basically the U.S. Copyright Office saying, as per our best practices, we will not accept the registration of these works. Now, in order to get copyright protection, this is a weird quirk in U.S. law here, you only have to attempt to register a work. You can get a refusal to register and still go ahead and sue. You need the registration or the refusal. So if the U.S. Copyright Office refuses it, and the court goes ahead and disagrees with the Copyright Office, which does happen on occasion, then they can win that way too. So this by no means puts an end to it, you know.
Right.
The debate's still going on, though the U.S. Copyright Office is given a lot of, you might imagine their opinion is given a lot of gravity and levity in the situation.
Right.
But it's not necessarily the, well, going back to it, it's not necessarily the holy Bible of copyright law either.
What do you make of the part that's supposedly aimed at Spotify playlists? Maybe now that's what I call music. Or no, it wasn't. It was no, it wasn't now as well. Was there a now case? There was a case regarding the what was it? Something of sound in the UK.
It was a record label. Yeah, it was a record label sued Spotify over public playlists that mimic or sued them, and that was quickly settled. But they sued over playlists that users posted and published that intentionally mimicked the lists that they put out on CD, the playlist they put out on CD. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Here they actually more directly talk about short stories in this. They say they're actually referencing Zane Grey for some reason. I'll read the quote. It says, "A compilation that contains an obvious selection, coordination, and/or arrangement of material, such as a complete list of stories written by Zane Grey between 1930 and 1939, a complete collection of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes stories, or a collection of a feature writer's contributions to a particular newspaper." And so that is anything that is obvious and you know within a certain degree is true. You know what I mean?
Wait, but look at this. Let's look at this in kind of an inverse way, right? If a Spotify playlist isn't protectable, then why would a compilation of now be protectable?
Yeah, and that's a very good question.
Because they're both licensed songs. I mean, they're both able to be in the playlist feature. Why would now be afforded anything? If a Spotify playlist, I mean, there's no additional creativity. I mean, it's just as obvious, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Exactly.
I mean, if I follow Dating with David Bowie with Public Enemy, is that not obvious? Do I get protection? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. It seems kind of weird. It seems like there shouldn't be protection for that, to be honest, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the implication of this is that if there is some level of creativity in creating the list, it can be protected. Like if you did the 10 greatest, Sherlock Holmes stories, as opposed to just a complete collection of Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
You'd be making your arguments about why these are the best work. That might be protectable, at least under this.
So what you're doing there is opening up the possible defense of saying, well, this is actually the pop's biggest singles of 2014, so we actually put this together.
And as long as it's not measurable in something like the #1 hits of 2014 by sales volume, 2014's best songs according to me might actually be able to move forward, but.
Yeah.
So,
with whatever weak monetizable, value that has.
Exactly, and whatever. And I've got to say, I'm a little offended because they also took on Venn diagrams directly, including a Venn diagram of 3 overlapping circles containing the names of various personality disorders and a few short phrases to describe the symptoms or conditions. Curse you, Venn diagrams! You are now, unless you are somehow.
The important thing is to include more than short phrases, and then it's copyrightable.
Yeah, exactly. You need more than that. You need a little creativity. And like I said, nothing in this necessarily says the courts can't rule a counter way, and the U.S. Copyright Office might have to make adjustments down the road. This is just saying how they're going to approach requests for copyright registration they receive. And that's the end of it. I mean, that's really all it is. But it's very fascinating to see the Copyright Office jump in so quickly on the monkey selfie dispute.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was just one of those things where they were compiling this, and then that came up, and that was like, okay, put that into the end, and that's, it just happened.
That just became an example.
It beat the buzzer.
An example of this.
Yeah, it's like that's
almost certainly the case.
It's novel enough, and it is novel enough, I think. Certainly a story we talked about, something completely out there, and and kind of a new story for this show, honestly.
Yeah, and and it's obvious they didn't just have the monkey thing happen and then immediately decide we have to cover this. This is a 1,200+ page book.
Yeah, but it's reasonable to think that they had most of it written, and then
exactly.
that was an example. They said, "Oh, we should add that."
Oh, we should totally add that in. Yeah, let's put a paragraph in there. That'll get some headlines.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and it was probably exactly what happened, and yeah, it was well timed in that regard. It caused this public draft to get a lot of attention, and through that a lot of attention, it is getting, hopefully a lot of comments and feedback, which is the goal of a public draft.
And Wikimedia can be like, see, we were right.
Yeah, and Wikimedia is, of course, saying, see, we were right all along, but the other problem being, and this was something that was pointed out on by Terry Hart at Copy Hype, was that the photographer in that case was from the UK. The photograph was taken in Indonesia. So that means the question is whether it's copyrightable in the U.S., but whether it's copyrightable in the country of greatest copyright interest, which would probably be the U.K. in this case. So that's a problem.
I never heard that before. Greatest copyright interest. So if I travel, if let's say I go to London to write my book.
Yeah.
That's a U.S. thing.
Yeah, since you're a U.S. citizen and you'd be enforcing rights in your work, you would be a U.S. I suspect would still be. It's not necessarily where you were. It's what country is. My understanding is what country citizenship you are, but I could be wrong about that. And since this photographer was British, I would assume it'd be a question under UK law whether it's copyrightable, and that would have to be hammered out. And the reason for that, for the record, is because of the treaties and the various signatories we signed. We have to respect anything that's basically we have to treat other countries what is copyrightable in other countries the same as if they were copyrightable here. We have to come back like that. It's my understanding. I could be wrong, and someone might jump on me. IP guy might jump on me in the chat. Who knows? But it's fascinating, but at the same time, irrelevant to the actual ongoing case.
Yeah, and there's a spokesperson for the Intellectual Property Office that was quoted by The Guardian. Intellectual Property Office would be the UK body. Yeah, so she said that the IPO indicates that under UK law, animals cannot own copyright. However, the question as to whether the photographer owns copyright is more complex. It depends on whether the photographer has made a creative contribution to the work, and this is a decision which must be made by the courts. So and here we go. It's kind of a punt.
Yeah, it's kind of a punt. And according to the photographer, I'll say this. He did set up like aperture and other settings on the camera before the monkey took it.
He ran that sucker through Instagram.
Yeah, basically. And so the long and short of it is he's going to make an argument that he did have some creative input. He and the monkey are co-authors, but since the monkey can't be an author, he's sole author. I think it's going to be the way he's going to argue it. And under UK law, he might actually have an in for that. So there you go.
Yeah.
Well, the big court ruling this week dealt with the movie Lovelace, which sounds weird because it's Linda Lovelace, but the movie you say Loveless deals with, which is a biopic of the life of Linda Lovelace, who starred in the 1970. I'm not up on my porn trivia. 1972 pornographic film Deep Throat, a very iconic pornographic film. Very well known at the time, especially. And it's basically this biopic of her recreated 3 scenes from the original pornographic film. And so the company that owns the right to the original Deep Throat, Arrow Productions, sued the producers of Loveless, the Weinstein Company, for copyright infringement in the reproduction of those scenes. Also sued for trademark infringement for the use of the name Deep Throat and Linda Lovelace as well, but that's a separate issue for the moment. Anyways, the judge dismissed pretty much everything right off the bat. I think actually just dismissed everything, not pretty much, nothing. Ruling that the reproductions were a fair use that were necessary to tell the story and were highly transformative and did not, replace the value or the function of the original work in any meaningful way. Basically, tossing out and dismissing the entire case. Now, things were already not going well for Arrow They had been tried in 2013 to get the judge to prevent the film from being released. That injunction failed, and as a result, the picture was released, like I said, on time in 2013, and we're having the lawsuit after this film has had its run in theaters, DirecTV, DVD,
it's currently on
VHS.
Netflix.
Yeah, it's probably on Netflix now.
It is on Netflix.
Yeah. It is? Well, there you
Yep.
go. It's on Netflix, folks. It's officially reached the 4th or 5th window. I've lost track of how the windows are counted. But yeah, so big loss if you happen to be Arrow Productions, and a pretty a strong fair use ruling overall.
Yep.
And then it's interesting because whenever you deal with a pornographic film like this, I always find myself stepping back and saying, okay, let's keep the facts of the case the same, but assume this is a non-pornographic film. That she was just a star in there's Judy Garland in The Wizard of Oz, right?
Yeah.
That type of thing. And they had to recreate a couple of scenes from the filming of The Wizard of Oz in order to tell her life story. Would we allow it? Would it be acceptable? Sometimes I get the feeling maybe the porn company didn't get the leeway a traditional film company or traditional company might have. In this case, though, I feel like we would have gotten the same ruling. You know?
Yeah, but it's a good point. This is the Weinsteins. This is a big outfit of people here. So.
Yeah, and I seriously doubt the Weinstein Company would have done this without licensing the original film if they weren't pretty much 100% confident they were going to win. In fact, they probably thought, we're so solid, there's no way they'll even sue us. Oh, wait, they're suing us. Okay, well, they're never going to win, and it seems like they were right.
Yeah, they lost.
Of course, Arrow can appeal, but I don't honestly think their odds are much better on appeal. I mean, looking at the facts of the case as presented, I have not seen Loveless. I've not seen Deep Throat, actually. I can't really comment on how much of the original film is used or the context, but the way I've read and what I've seen described in this article in Reuters and elsewhere, it sounds like a pretty clear-cut, fair use case to me.
Yeah. So before we move on to the next story, got a comment from the chat room here.
Okay,
Monty guy related to the monkey selfie story, real quick.
Uh-oh.
Ultimately, we really don't know, ! With full certainty if Slater could receive U.S. copyright protection until his matter has concluded at the federal appeal court, and at the U.S. Supreme Court.
Obviously, yeah.
The updated Copyright Compendium 3 rules can be overturned by U.S. court decisions and
statutes. Which I mentioned briefly, yeah.
It's a mistake when IP attorneys don't qualify, and another exclamation point, their statements, they should never give absolutes. Law is never black or white. Slater's monkey image would, quote, very likely, end quote, be part of the public domain for the following reasons. That's like an example of them not providing,
exactly,
and in the end, we can only speculate. So,
indeed.
All right.
That's very true, and very good point. Very valid.
All right, so...
I need a third monitor so I can keep the chat up, too, and see what we're talking about.
Yeah, I got Dotcom looking at me, and I've got the chat going.
Yeah, so there you go. And well, I don't know if I'd ever want Kim Dotcom looking at me, but you're right, he's looking at me too on my top monitor, where I read the stories from. And yeah, Kim Dotcom's assets will remain frozen on into April, is the headline here from the New Zealand Herald. Remember, going back a few months now, the order in which to keep Kim Dotcom's assets, which includes millions of dollars, bunches of cars, and other expensive stuff, the order to keep those assets frozen had expired. The process of getting him to an extradition hearing and to a trial and whatever had taken so long that the order to keep his assets frozen had literally just expired and run out after pretty much 2 years, I believe it was, over 2 years. Well, the government filed a petition to keep the assets frozen pending the extradition hearing, which is currently scheduled for February 2015, to give you an idea of what we're talking about here. For the record, he was arrested in January 2012, so it's going to be at least 3 years between when he was arrested and when the extradition hearing happens. Just throwing that out there. But like I said, it expired in April. The High Court, and originally the High Court turned down an application to extend it. It was appealed, and long and short of it is, and there's a whole bunch here about how originally it was a criminal forfeiture, and then they transferred to a civil one, and so on and so forth. But basically, the appeals court has ruled that all that is irrelevant, and that the assets will remain frozen until April, which those of you who are capable with a calendar will note is after the extradition hearing is scheduled. So, at the very least, those assets will remain frozen until the scheduled hearing date. I'm reluctant to say until the hearing because, as you've noted from being on the show for so long, it would not be the first time the hearing had been postponed.
Yeah, we should. I guess maybe we should make a list of things that I will not see the end of, huh?
Yeah, I know. This is on the list. You know, I'm kind of wondering if I will see the end of this, though.
Yeah, you know, I guess the show won't see the end of every story. Obviously, it has to come to an end one day. I guess when you die, but you know, when you could be 80 years old hosting the podcast, and you know, we could be after copyright's been abolished already. You know,
or after the universe ends, or whatever.
And you're working as a Walmart greeter, then you know, you'll be talking about copyright still, and the way it used to be.
Yep. But yeah, this story's been really frustrating because it actually, like I said, started in 2012 and it was a big deal. We covered it very thoroughly at the time, and it seemed like it was on a fast track, and then it just kind of stalled. And ever since, Kim Dotcom has been like this weird cloud hanging over copyright news, not going anywhere, not really moving forward. And this is realistically another story of the case not moving forward. The assets are frozen. Still, the status quo is preserved. On we march into February, where it may get postponed. It may not get postponed. We don't know, but it seems like it's going on forever, and that frustrates me.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it frustrates everyone else in the case, too. Kim Dotcom included. I mean, Kim Dotcom, U.S. authorities, New Zealand authorities, I'm pretty sure everyone wishes this case had moved forward more quickly. I don't think anyone's going, yes, keep this case in the courts forever. I don't think anyone's really doing that, despite what Kim Dotcom claims. Well, speaking of criminal cases, a man in the United Kingdom has been sentenced to 33 months in jail for recording Fast and Furious 6, which really? We're up to 6? 6?
Yeah, it's so good.
I must have missed like 4 of these.
I haven't seen any of them, to be honest.
I saw the first one. I remember vaguely the second one coming out, and it didn't have Vin Diesel, so no one went to it. And then 6 appears.
Yeah, and 7, like I said, is coming in 2015.
Okay, anyways. Basically, though, the man's name is Philip Danks, which is, we're starting off with not an attractive name, I'll be honest with you. Mr. Danks, basically was an idiot in terms of how he committed his piracy. There's no gentle way of putting it. He basically got caught because he used the same username on a piracy forum where he uploaded and talked about his camming of the film that he used on his Plenty of Fish profile.
And you know, this is why I don't really worry about banned people coming back to my communities, because first of all, it doesn't really bother me. Like, people think it bothers you. It doesn't bother me when people come back because they have to pay the cost of having to reboot their identity. But the catch is that eventually, most people slip up in some way. They use a username that ties them to the old account. They use a username, we Google and find their name, we know their name, their email address, something.
Email address is a big one.
All these data points, there's some sort of shared connection. It's just IP addresses. A lot of people think it's just IP addresses. Nah, I mean, IP addresses are one part of the picture, but I put together all these data points that are not hard to find, and it becomes clear that it's you, and then you're banned again. So people slip up, and this gentleman certainly did slip up when he tied the user to, and the username, I don't know, it's somewhat unique. It's the coder with the E encoder turned to the number 3.
He's leaked.
Yeah.
I don't know what signed that.
Yeah, so he uploaded a file that was downloaded 700,000 times. He's 25 years old. My junior, younger than me, younger than you, so.
The other thing that was mentioned in another article about him is he had also posted a collage of pirated movies he had for sale on his Facebook and said, "Hit me up if you want to buy some."
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah, it's like the whole thing about piracy is that when you profit from it, you cross a line. You cross a line both with the law and with companies, but also with the whole piracy crowd when you sell. Yeah. When you sell, pretty much everyone looks at you as worse than you were before. Like everyone, on all sides, it doesn't really matter. When you start selling it, everyone looks at you as worse, from the law to the company, copyright holder to the pirates. They all don't like you. It's just a little more.
Yeah, well, maybe not like everyone in the piracy community, obviously, but it's one of the.
It's reasonable to say.
There's a large percentage of people that would be cool with you doing it, and I wouldn't agree with this group either. There's a group of people that'd be cool with you doing it if it weren't for your personal gain, personal profit. But the minute you start profiting from it, their view on you flips. That's definitely true, and we don't hear a lot.
I mean, he must have got scared because in this photo he's white as a sheet. So
no, he's just British.
He got really
that's
scared.
That's a British tan right there.
Yeah. I mean, he got really scared when he heard about the ruling.
Yeah, and here's the thing: we don't hear a whole lot about criminal prosecutions in the UK for copyright. In fact, there's a lot of times there are pushes for criminal cases to be extradited to the U.S. because of that. We don't hear a lot about it. His case is pretty exceptional in just about every fathomable way. Selling the work, the sheer stupidity of it, and also being the apparently one of the first, if not the first, to release this film, just makes it even worse. So all around,
and, he and I are both Scorpios, so that's he's bringing us down. Don't bring the Scorpios down.
How do you know?
I got the cash.
Oh,
cash
that's right, the Plenty of Fish profile. I see what you did there. Yeah. Oh gosh, But yes, pro tip to all would-be pirates: don't use the same username on the piracy forum as you do your OkCupid, your Plenty of Fish, your Facebook, or anything that has your real name. Just pro tip there. I'm pretty sure that should be patently obvious to just about every reasonable person. Well, the next story intrigues me. It's also from Britain, but it starts with a pair of Australian artists, Tim Maslin and Jennifer Mehra, I believe they say it. They are suing the BBC for copyright infringement. But basically, the BBC did a promo for a World War I program or documentary or something. I have no idea. The article actually doesn't really spell it out. In which they took silhouettes, I'm assuming, of soldiers and cut them out of mirror, put them in a field, and then move the camera. And, of course, you get the interesting effects of the mirror and all that. And it's really cool. And people really, it looks really, really cool. Well, apparently, they did something very similar, and they're accusing the BBC of infringing their idea, and like I said, their idea, and are filing a copyright infringement suit seeking damages on it. And I don't think their odds are good. I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah, this is one of those tricky things where I wouldn't be surprised if whoever made the video was inspired by their work. I've seen this with my friend Lee Lefevre in Common Craft here in the U.S. They came up with a style they call Paperworks, and this is years and years ago. And since then, you've seen videos that appear to be somewhat inspired by them. Some very blatant, most not, but some have been pretty blatant in how because Common Craft is a style. There's a way to it that the video goes, the way the cutouts are, the sounds, Lee's voice, etc. And what can you do about it? You really stinks for you to some extent, especially when people are blatant. But it's tough. It's tough, and I don't know anything of UK law, but in the US I know it's tough because of it's tough to protect the idea, the expression, yes, but a lot of these people don't copy the expression, so.
And that's the problem, is that ideas are not copyrightable. They're not copyrightable pretty much anywhere.
Yeah,
My
so there could
understanding.
be an ethical question on some level,
Yeah.
certainly within the design community, or but legal question, it's probably not.
Yeah, I really don't see them as having very good chance here. A little analysis in this article says it's going to come down to just how similar the ideas were and so on and so forth, and that's true. I mean, you can copy an idea so much that you're basing your work on the expression, and that creates problems. But that's a gray area, and frankly, I mean, I think anyone can come up with the idea of silhouette mirrors and putting them in a landscape. That's not terribly.
I mean, anyone come up with the idea of cutting out paper and making it move around a screen.
Exactly.
The question is in the execution, though.
Exactly, and
there are elements that icky feeling we talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know enough about the comparisons in this article. Really aren't enough to go on.
Yeah, I didn't see anything. I googled a little bit looking for something, but I couldn't find anything.
Yeah, exactly. So
hard to say.
My thought is the idea itself, no, not copyrightable. The execution and the expression of that idea is, and it doesn't sound like they copied any actual expression. In fact, the article mentions that none of the actual footage created by the artist were used, which I would expect.
Right.
They're just going after the big idea. They're saying that they're so well known, and that sounds a little bit of hubris to me. We're so well known and so well loved that we had to be the inspiration. It's the only way they could have come up with this idea, is to base it on our work, and that sounds like hubris to me.
It might be, but I mean, and I hate to keep throwing back to Lee here, but it might be because they're well known, but they're not well known. I mean. They might be well known if you're designing an ad campaign. You might be familiar with their style, and you could just make it similar. But it's I don't know. But like you said, I mean, we're probably not talking about legal questions here. And we don't have anything to look at to say up or down.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the other truth. And besides, even if they were the inspiration, it doesn't necessarily make it an infringement.
Right, it doesn't at all.
So.
Before, I wanted to mention about the last story real quick, because I was just looking at some stories about it. Here's Torn Freak's headline for the story about the gentleman who used his username for the file that was pirated, and you enter it in Google and you get the exact thing, his username and his Plenty of Fish profile. This was the Torn Freak headline. It was, "No VPN on Earth can protect careless pirates."
Yep.
That's
Ain't
it.
that the truth? Ain't that the truth?
That's the same thing for kind of security measures in some way. I mean, the better we become with protecting accounts like PayPal accounts, eBay accounts, whatever, human engineering is probably one of the greater threats. I mean, just playing on sympathies, playing on someone's need, customer support's need to placate and help people. You give a good enough story, get access. Same way is true here. You can use a VPN, but if you're just dumb in your web usage, you can still be caught.
And that's one of the things, and that's one of the weird things with internet security. In some ways, having the VPNs, having the firewalls is sometimes counterproductive, because if you have all that security and you let your personal human guard down because you feel safe, then you're going to get into even bigger trouble.
And for those curious, the Torn Freak article also has screenshots of some of his activities. Like his Facebook page had movies under his likes, favorites. It had Fast and Furious 6. And you mentioned he sold the movies on his Facebook page. Like, you really don't know how bad that is until you see it's under his name, and it's like his personal profile says "Inbox me," and he's selling latest movies for £1 each, 6 for £5, 13 for £10.
That's a deal.
It is a deal. I mean, that crushes Redbox.
I know. I mean, that's like getting the Redbox rental, but owning it.
Yeah, and he's got movies like RoboCop, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Pompeii, Monuments Men, Vampire Academy, That Awkward Moment, I, Frankenstein, Rio 2, and About Last Night.
I reiterate, he doesn't have them now. But
yeah, he did have them. Sorry. I mean, if you already were a customer, you're probably you've already got them, so you can't do anything now though. You missed the deal.
You missed the deal. It's like a Groupon. It expired. Jail, and it's not coming up for at least another 33 months.
IP Guy says in the chat, you both have summed up the issues well. No protection for ideas expression. Yes.
Oh, thanks.
Speaking about our story about the mirror. Anyway, let's move on.
Well, I gotta ask you this, Patrick. I'm not familiar with this show. Have you seen the show Masters of the Mix?
Seen it? No. Heard of it? I think so.
Okay.
I think I've heard of it before, but I have not seen it.
I just got cable in this house.
Oh, what's going on? You have cable now?
Well, DirecTV, yeah, but
Oh,
fundamentally.
you got a cord back in there.
Yeah, not my doing, to be clear, but yes, we do have cable back in the house.
Okay.
But yeah,
What was the big push? What are you missing?
um,
What show?
Ellie, who moved in with us,
Right.
brought it with her from her old house.
Okay.
She wanted
Gotcha.
all of her. She wanted her
Programming.
DVR and all that stuff too. She was big on
Okay.
it.
I guess you can borrow the benefit of it now.
Yeah, I'm getting the benefit of it. It's going to be in other rooms, but yeah, basically, I'm enjoying the benefit without actually having to own it.
Okay. There you go.
Down to. But yes, we do have a cable a cord in the house again for the first time in 9 years.
Here's a question: is it going to cause you to cancel anything?
No.
As far as Hulu or any other services, or I don't know if you use
no.
Hulu, but whatever you use now, is it going to cause you to cancel anything?
No, we primarily use Netflix and Amazon Prime membership, which we keep Amazon Prime no matter what because it's primarily about Amazon Prime.
Yeah, there's not really much reason to cancel either of those.
No, and honestly, there's still a lot of stuff in Netflix that isn't available on cable.
Yep.
So like right now, we've been really big on Doctor Who, and we have BBC. But it's much easier to get the Doctor Who archives in Netflix, especially all the classic Doctor Who's.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. All right, so anyway, sorry to derail. Masters of the Mix, your new love.
No problem. Yes, absolutely. I'll be watching it now. Universal
You're going to watch it even more now that you know they didn't license the music.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to tune in now and go, that's an infringement, that's an infringement, that I'm going to be tallying it up in my hand.
You know, some people live blog and live tweet shows, and they talk about the highlights. You're just going to go, well, they got this song, wasn't licensed. This song's now being played, wasn't licensed.
This is a Universal artist, this is a... Yeah, because Universal Music, this is a crazy story to me. Universal Music has sued the production company, JTMA Media Group, I think is how you say it, over the show Masters of the Mix, which basically the accusation is this is apparently the third season of the show. And seasons 1 and 2, they correctly licensed and fully got a permission and approval for everything in the show. But season 3, according to Universal, who in this case is representing both the recording artists and the songwriters, claiming that they just didn't. For season 3, there is no permission, and therefore they have tracked at least 115 recordings and 93 compositions that are used over the course of the show, which, by the way, is just like a DJ reality show, so you'd imagine there's a lot of music being played.
Right.
They've tracked over, basically, a little over 200 different infringements here, totaling a potential of $31 million in potential damages, if they get their $150,000 they're demanding for each work. What happened here? What the heck?
Yeah, it's interesting. The show has had 3 seasons so far, as you mentioned. This is the 3rd season, and you know, they have some people that are known, you know, working with it, working alongside it. It was hosted by Just Blaze, who's a super well-known hip-hop producer, Kid Capri, a well-known DJ, Bismarcky, you know Bismarcky. I don't have to explain that to you, but you know, a lot of different people. It was on, let's see, it aired on Wednesday nights on Centric with an encore on BET. Centric is a network. Oh gosh, is that no network owned by BET? I forget right now. But anyway, so I'm just saying it wasn't on public access. You know, I'm trying to illustrate, and yeah, I mean, it's interesting that that this is coming up, that they supposedly hadn't licensed it. Interestingly, also, you know, Viacom was able to escape being a part of this lawsuit. You know, which is interesting because it was on VH1, I guess. Even though it's on, what's this, Centric? This is weird. Okay, it was on VH1, I guess. Maybe the 3rd season was on VH1. I'm not sure. Wikipedia, you're letting me down here. But anyway, Viacom is a part of it, and Viacom was able to skip it. Do you think that's just some mutual big brother talk? Like, hey, we're not gonna bring you in on this. We're gonna go after the guy.
My suspicion is that the production company had the responsibility for licensing it, and if they had sued Viacom or VH1 directly, basically it would have fallen right back to the production company.
Yeah, and let me say right now, 2010 through 2012, it was on BET/Centric, and Centric is in fact owned by BET, like I thought. Season 3 was on VH1.
Yeah, so it moved networks.
Yeah, it moved channels. It moved networks. But that said, what was I thinking? Oh, never mind. Skip my thought. Oh no. Then my thought is accurate. BET Networks is owned by Viacom, so it's kind of intercompany.
Yeah.
You know.
But so yeah. But honestly, I think it's because I'm reasonably sure the production company signed indemnification or other clauses that made them responsible for the licensing, and if they had sued Viacom and VH1 or BET and whatever, it would have just rolled right back to the production companies. What I sense is most likely. Or it could be that they're just going to, get some additional information. They may add them later. There's always that possibility.
Yeah, because let's be honest, whatever explanation we may have for them leaving it out and however justified it might be, usually, if you can include a big fish, you include a big fish.
Yeah. Usually.
I mean, that's why the lawsuits are headlined, suing Diddy, or suing celebrity, when it might, they're just one party out of 7 or 10 or something. You got to include the big fish in there, gets headlines, and hey, they have more money. So they didn't do it here, though.
It's all about the money. But that being said, they probably also feel pretty confident this production company has the funds that they're after. And honestly, it may just be a push to get them to reach a settlement and license it and put it all behind them. They probably don't have any interest in a long, drawn-out legal battle anyway, especially over DJ music and sampling. So, they don't necessarily want to get too bogged down on this, is the other thing about it. So we'll see if maybe VH1 and Viacom get added later. It's always possible. But I just want to know why didn't you, if what Universal says is true, did the intern that was supposed to file the paperwork call in sick that day?
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, you wonder what happened between seasons 2 and 3.
Yeah.
I mean, they switched networks. Did other things switch? Did other responsibilities switch? What happened? Because you would think, we're talking about big networks here, that stuff would be taken care of. So it's kind of, and of course the facts have to come out here.
Yeah, obviously.
In the court. So we're not, I know I've been very pro Universal talking here, but the facts will have to come out.
Well, and the other issue that I have, another question is, what about the other major record labels / record label? What about all the other major names here? What about Sony? What about Warner? What about all the record labels and publishers?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I was wondering about that too.
Why just Universal that the ball got dropped on, or is Warner going to go, hey, wait a minute, we don't have that either? Run the court real fast. Is that going to be what happens next?
Yeah.
I don't know. And so, yeah, keep your eyes open for possibly more lawsuits in this. I don't know what happened. It is, if what Universal says happened, it's embarrassing, stupid, and a very costly mistake. This one could easily hurt. And finally, this week, we end our show, as usual, with tact and grace and dignity and farting hippos. Because why not?
Sure.
Do you watch NCIS?
I do not. This is the first time I've ever heard of this hippo.
Yeah, for me too. I've seen a lot of NCIS. I mean, I love Polly Perrette, who plays Abby, but I don't watch it like as it's coming out. I always see episodes from years ago. So
have you seen many episodes?
I've seen Crystal's parents really love the show, and every time I go up there or spend like a week there or so, I usually catch a lot of them there. It's usually on a fair amount there. So I've seen a lot of episodes, yes, but usually, like I said, older ones, reruns.
Okay.
So I'm not familiar with what's going on in the latest season. No spoilers, please, everyone. But apparently Abby has a hippo, a stuffed hippo, which makes a farting noise. And that hippo is, according to this lawsuit at least, based upon a puppet, which is distributed, I'm trying to get the company name here, Folk Manus is the name of the company. It's a California puppet company that has been manufacturing it since 2002. And they add the farting noise like in post. It's, made... They add the fart in post, basically.
They used to do it in Magics.
Exactly. But apparently this hippo became really freaking popular, so CBS decided to make and market their own farting hippo in the CBS store. And now Folk Manus has filed a lawsuit against CBS saying that the farting hippo they were selling was a copyright infringement of the one that they had sold and was used in the show originally. So even though the Folk Manus' hippo, to be clear, does not fart. It is just a puppet, and its mouth moves.
So you know what I found though? I looked at this story. I did Google
Farting hippo too.
because I wanted to see pictures of the hippos to kind of compare things. But
Yeah.
I found stories that fill in a little more details. Okay.
Okay.
So here's what I found. Now there's a story by Liz Raftery at TVGuide.com, and she mentions the following details. So like you said, there's Folk Manus is suing CBS, an affiliated company, alleging that the network has been selling unlicensed Bert the Farting Hippo toys manufactured by a company in China, and ended its contract with Folk Manus as a result. The network did in fact have a contract with Folk Manus. Folk Manus stopped producing the hippos in 2006, but began manufacturing smaller ones in 2009. The following year, CBS reached a deal with Folk Manus, whereby the company would make a special version of the puppet that would include the farting sound effect, and which CBS could sell to fans. More than 30,000 puppets were produced and sold, and Folk Manus eventually started making Bert the Farting Hippo keychains with the sound effect as well. Now, Folk Manus is suing Delivery Agent Inc. and SF Global Sourcing for copyright infringement, alleging that both companies reached out to a China-based Shanghai or Lin toy company to obtain unlicensed Bert toys. As a result, Folk Manus says CBS stopped ordering from Folk Manus. This company is seeking $733,000 in lost profits. So they did have a deal at one point.
Yeah, that's interesting.
To produce these farting hippos. The hippo was based. I mean, hippo was the Folk Manus hippo, I guess, from what we're all seeing here, and then they worked together to say, let's make the farting one. And now CBS is going elsewhere to make the farting hippo, and of course that's affecting Folk Manus's bottom line because let's face it, Folk Manus is a much smaller company, and that probably meant a lot to them.
And Folk Manus, of course, was producing this hippo or a version of it previously.
Yep.
So I was right about that part. But so yeah, they apparently.
Well, nothing you said was wrong. It was just more.
Okay, there was more detail. That makes sense.
Yeah, the part about them actually producing the hippo officially licensed. I thought that was a pretty big story omission here, NY Post. But then again, it is NY Post. So
and that's the problem is I actually read. As usual with the 3 count, this story came out today, and as usual with the 3 count, and thus the show notes, I get the stories first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you get incomplete ones. They get updated as the day goes on. As what happened. It sounds like what happened here.
Yeah, you probably didn't see the Eric Gardner one either.
No, I did not. No, his came out later.
Yeah, his came out around almost noontime. Do it. Yeah,
so
10:54.
And I already sent you the show notes by then, actually.
Oh, yesterday, sorry. But you read stories in the morning, you said. So
yeah, I read stories in the morning.
That's when the show notes get built, the potential show notes.
Yeah,
it's morning.
Exactly. So there you go. That's what probably happened in that case. So thanks for the extra info. I did not know that. That's interesting, and it does put a different light into this because let's face it, it's definitely more dubious that way.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, we know you made this, we know you produced this, but we're going to another company. Yeah, that's not cool. That's less cool.
Yeah.
So it's even more dubious in my book, and so
I guess I'm not sure where the copyright lies here.
Yeah, that's the real question.
I'm not saying that they have a case. It's just another interesting detail that brings up CBS might have said, you know what, we can go to China and probably make a few extra bucks. Let's go ahead and screw this company, even though we based it on their hippo to begin with. We don't have to use them.
And that's kind of what's interesting because we talked about in the very first story about the Copyright Office is saying that patterns based upon nature do not receive copyright protection. Well, a hippo, last time I checked, is still found in nature. So
I've read that to mean more long leopard skin.
Yeah, I know, and it's
versus
true.
And if I draw an elephant, I mean that's
Yeah,
that's insane. If I sew an elephant or I make an elephant, that's not that's different, isn't it?
It is, but the question is, what elements of the original puppet are copyright protected to separate it from another hippo puppet that makes farting noises?
So let's talk about it like this. Would you agree that the idea of an elephant isn't copyrightable? The expression of an elephant is copyrightable.
Yes, an expression of an elephant is copyrightable. What's to separate your expression of an elephant from someone else's expression of an elephant? That's where things get tricky.
Yeah.
You've got to prove there's something unique to your expression of the elephant. And that's going to be tough.
The elephant in the picture of this post looks kind of like a rat to me, so that's pretty unique. It's a rat elephant.
It's a rat hippo elephant thingy.
Sorry, a rat. I said elephant before. Hippo. Sorry. Obviously, I mean hippo.
No.
It's weird because to me, when I first Googled it, I typed in elephant for some reason. I'm not sure why I'm looking at the story and seeing elephant. It's very strange, but that's where my brain's going.
God help us if there's a farting elephant.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, exactly. You don't want to be downwind.
Yeah. So yeah, but basically, that's one of the issues that's going to come out is A, how similar the CBS version was to theirs, and if the elements that were copied are copyright protectable. And without
Yeah.
seeing the two side by side, I can't really tell you. And I often say this on the show, but I don't envy the judge that this lands on. They have to weigh which farting elephant is, and if the farting elephant's in. I'm farting. Got me doing it now. The farting hippo A is an infringement of farting hippo B.
I mean, hippos, elephants. What's the difference? I mean, this looks like an elephant almost. I mean, and a rat. It's a rat and a rat elephant.
It's a rat hippo-elephant.
It's such unique expression that it's like an anamorph.
Actually, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me more of a duck-billed platypus.
Yeah. Okay. So there's that too, but. Plus, it's got a collar, and they say I think the one that they made specially, I think I read that had the spike collar on it. The one they made for CBS had like a spike collar.
Which makes sense because it is apparently Abby's, and she's the gothy, punky one that would definitely have a spike collar on her farting hippo. Did I just actually say that sentence?
Yeah. Well, you have an idea for a pet. I mean, they have those in New Orleans? There's pet hippos walking around, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely, everywhere. It's they're ideal in a city that could flood at any time. It's just.
Yeah, I mean, you never know when you might need to ride one.
Exactly. They actually just swim up and down the Mississippi River all the time here, pretty freely. All right. Well, I've got no further copyright news. Patrick, any final thoughts about farting elephants, hippos, or platypi?
No, I don't think there's no final thoughts. We'll be doing 2 more episodes. I'll be a part of, and we'll talk more about the final episode. I don't know. It might just be a normal one. I do something. Who knows? But we'll
who knows?
Have fun either way.
Well, on that note, everyone, my name is Jonathan Bailey. I'm from the site Plagiarism Today, which can be found at plagiarismtoday.com. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, Instagram, pretty much everywhere else at username Plagiarism Today.
And I'm Patrick O'Keefe of the iFroggy Network. You can find me blogging at managingcommunities.com, also on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn as Patrick O'Keefe. And also, thank you to IP Guy for joining us in the chat room.
Thank you very much, IP Guy, and we will see you and everyone else next week.